Welcome back to Focused Unleashed. This is episode number 5. Last month, we put ourselves in position to be more successful than we ever have. And now it's time to put those habits and action into motion. Today, we're talking about something that separates dreamers from doers, and that's vision. Not just hoping, not just wanting, but seeing your success so clearly that it becomes real before it even ever exists. As always, get comfortable and settle in. It's time to talk about vision. Are you ready? Here we go. Vision comes first. You have to see it. I know you've heard the term, you have to see it to believe it. Before you can build anything, you have to see it. You can't chase what you haven't defined, right? So just like defining your giants so that you can create habits and routines to defeat them and keep you on track, you have to define exactly what you want. You can't hit the target if you haven't named it. This is where people fall off. A lot of people say they want success, but they can't describe it. They say they want change, but they haven't visualized what change looks like. Think about the last goal that you had that you didn't really accomplish. Could you explain exactly what you wanted to achieve to the finite detail? I would say that you thought you could, but when you talk about it, it's probably very vague. And the reason I can speak on this, it's because of my first attempt with the podcast. I knew exactly what I thought I wanted to achieve, but it was so vague. I couldn't even tell you right now what the mission was from the last one. I know I wanted to help people. I know I wanted to talk about some very serious things that were going on in the world and things that affect people on a daily basis. But I really didn't have a vision of what that looked like. From episode to episode, I was just kind of going to wherever my mind took me, whatever I kind of thought of during the week. And then it was a rush process to kind of get the podcast episode together, record it, produce it. My thoughts were kind of all over the place. I was never truly in sync with what I wanted to accomplish as far as doing it on a daily basis. And it showed. It showed in the podcast episodes, but it truly showed when I decided that it wasn't working. So it was time to give it up. So understanding what you want, seeing it to the most tiniest detail, it makes creating true success easier. Not having that vision makes it very hard. And so today, we're going to fix that. How we're going to fix that is we're going to clarify what we want to achieve. Clarity is probably the biggest part of success. If you can truly see what you want and understand the road that it's going to take to get there, you have more of a chance to be successful than if you just say, hey, I want to achieve this, and you have no idea what that looks like. Clarity brings confidence. Confidence creates action, and action creates results. When you know what success looks like for you, not your friends, not social media, not your past self, but for you in 2026, you stop drifting and you start directing the path to success. And clarity and clarifying exactly what you want is that first step. Because your habits are not just habits, when you know exactly where you want to go and you know exactly what you need to do to get there. Now, that doesn't mean things aren't going to pop up. Things always pop up. Things always try to knock you off course. Life happens. But when you have these habits that we developed last month, and then you have clarity on what you want to achieve, your habits are not habits. They just become a part of your daily ritual. The routines that we talked about, and now that you have established, become so ingrained that you don't even think about them as you start to do them. They become naturally part of your day. They become second nature. You will find times that you'll wake up before your alarm, fully rested and ready to go. You always feel 2 steps ahead. And even when life tries to knock you off path, you know that, yes, I may have to take the time to deal with this issue that has just arose, but I know my routines, I know my habits. I will get back on track as soon as I have handled this situation. And there's no fear, there's no doubt, there's no uncertainty, because you see it so clearly that there's nothing that can really create that detour, not that bend. A bend is okay, but that detour where you get lost and you can't find your way back. Like I said, I can speak on this from experience. I'm going to use this podcast as an example throughout this episode. When I became very clear that, one, I wanted to create a podcast again. 2, what I wanted it to be. And then broke it down to the smallest detail on why, how, when. It became something that created such a fire and passion. You can't knock me off the path. I am so far ahead in my mind, in my planning, my routines, my habits with this podcast, that I don't have time for doubt. I don't have time for fear. I don't have time for uncertainty, because I'm on to the next step, on to the next episode, before I can even think, oh my gosh, this is working. Oh my gosh, this isn't what I expected. Can I continue to do this? Yes, I can. Because my routines, my habits are second nature now. So I'm doing things without even thinking about it, which doesn't allow the uncertainty, the fear, and the doubt to creep in, because I'm very clear on what I want to achieve. And that's what you have to have. You have to have that clear vision, because things will always try to blur that vision. As we talked about last month, we already have fears. We already have doubts. We already have uncertainty. So when life throws things at us, it amplifies those, right? But we have habits and routines. They're going to eliminate those fears, calm that uncertainty, and eliminate those doubts. And now that we have those, being very clear on what we want does not allow our own giants to creep in. What we have to watch out for are those outside circumstances, those people that don't understand what we're trying to achieve, life throwing those obstacles in our way to come in and amplify those giants to the point where they do become distractions. Being very clear on what you want doesn't allow that to happen, because the second nature kicks in and you're on to the next thing before you can even wonder what the last thing is about who sees it, who's listened to it, who has opinions about it. You're not even worried about it because you're on to the next thing, taking steps towards your goals. And that's what clarity brings. So to get clarity, you've got to define your goal for 2026. So if you're listening and you have time, get a pen and a piece of paper because we're going to get tactical and do a little exercise. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. You can always hit pause if you need to go get it. But let me take a quick breath and then I'll jump into the exercise. All right, that was a little bit over the top, but hopefully you got your pen, paper, and let's go ahead and jump into this exercise. What I want you to ask yourself is, where do I want to be on December 31st, 2026? What does my life look like? What have I accomplished? What habits got me there? What does success feel like? And what did it cost? Now, as you think about those, jot those ideas down based on the questions. And then I want you to write it down in one sentence, starting with success in 2026 means, and use all the answers from those questions to describe 2026 and how it ends for you. I believe, and I hope you believe, and I hope by doing this, you start to see success at the end of 2026. And that's going to take some time, and I know it's not going to happen in the few seconds that we just did this exercise. But after you complete this exercise, you have a new tool that will be like your North Star if you ever feel like you are lost on your path. Describing your 2026 and the success and what it means to you, how you get there, how you feel, those will remind you when you feel like life is trying to nudge you off the path and create that detour, or you feel like you've lost the sense of where you're trying to go. It will give you the direction if you've lost it, because it will remind you of where you want to go, and it will put you back on the path to success. I know it sounds very simple. I know it sounds very like it can't truly be that simple just to write down exactly what success looks like in 2026, and no matter what happens, it's going to keep me on track. I know it doesn't sound like it's possible, but from experience, I'm telling you, I have never been more focused, more direct, and more intentional in my actions in my life as far as achieving the goals that I want to achieve in 2026. I say that with 100% honesty. December and doing my 30 days of action, coming up with my vision, become very clear on what I wanted to accomplish. Even if there is the smallest amount of doubt, which there hasn't been, but as the year goes on, I know things will get harder. I know life will try to knock me off my path, create that detour. I have a North Star that puts me back on track because my vision is so clear I don't doubt what I'm doing. I don't fear that it's not going to work. And I don't have any uncertainty about the steps it's going to take for me to be successful. So that passion, that fire, every single day, I'm thinking about things. I'm putting things in motion. I don't have time to think about what others think. I don't have time to think about, is this going to work? I'm just doing. And it's all because of this very simple exercise that created my North Star. So, as simple as it sounds, and maybe as silly as it sounds, I'm going to ask you to do this exercise. And I'm going to challenge you. If you feel 100% comfortable in your vision, you feel you are clear, and you feel you want to be successful and that you are going to be successful, leave it in the comments of this episode. I want to read it. I want to read it. I want to celebrate it. So that's a challenge. We have the exercise, and I've just issued you a challenge. Let's see what you do with it. Now that you have that, and when you do have it, don't just throw it away. Don't just push it to the side. Don't just say, hey, I've got this. Make sure that you look at it every single day. Put it as your lock screen. Write it on a Post-it note. Put it on your mirror. Put it on your computer as your screen for your computer, so that when you log into your computer at work or at home, the first thing you see is your North Star. Because one thing that can really impact the giants creeping back in is not a continual reminder of what you're trying to achieve. As we talked about before, progress is not always seen. So knowing where you want to go, how you're going to track that progress, how you see success in 2026 is a good reminder daily that you're going to succeed. You're taking every step forward, and you're not going to be knocked off your path. It's not a one-time thing. You have to revisit it. I say daily. It can be weekly. If you can find a way to make it daily, I think it will be, especially as you start the year, it's going to be more impactful because there's not any time for you truly to lose focus on what success means to you in 2026. But at the very least, let it be weekly. And then you don't stop with what you wrote down today. Adjust it, because as you grow, success is going to mean different things. If you work really, really hard and you accomplish what you set out to do early in the year, then you are going to have to grow that vision and adjust it to keep you motivated to keep going. I think one of the most beautiful things in the world, especially as a personal trainer, is to have somebody, a client, come in with a goal, and we hit that mark. And that mark then creates a new goal. That, to me, is the most beautiful thing in the world. I've had so many clients hit their target weight, and I ask them, what's next? And you can see the light in their eyes, because that was never a possibility when they started on the goal that they achieved. But now that they've achieved it, what next brings so many more opportunities than they ever thought possible, because they didn't even see truly the vision of being successful. So as you go through it, at least on a weekly basis, revisiting it, as you get closer to reaching the goal that you set, you should be able to create more goals to create more success. So don't think that this is the end. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. There's always more to accomplish. Absolutely celebrate the small wins that lead to the ultimate goal. But that celebration should be short-lived, because the excitement of what you could achieve next should come in and overtake that feeling of success and create the will and the want to do it again, again, and again. So what this does by revisiting on a daily, weekly basis, it allows you to use it as a filter to filter out things that are not going to impact your success. If it doesn't move you towards your vision, it should be filtered out. Why? Because it's a distraction. And what did we say about distractions? We're going to say no to all distractions, because we're going to have relentless focus to achieving our goals. So not only have you created a tool that is going to create a vision for you to see your success, you've created a tool to filter out distractions and keep you relentlessly focused. This is the next phase. We've built the foundation, and now it's time to start believing that you can achieve it. The hardest thing to do is really see it. See it so clearly that there's nothing or anyone that can tell you it's not possible. That's probably the hardest thing to do. We've looked at the things that have stopped us in the past, whether it be our own giants or somebody amplifying those giants. We've learned how to be relentlessly focused, really honing in on what we want to achieve and eliminating all the distractions. We've built the routines, and now they're becoming second nature. What we do now is we start to see it. Now that we put ourselves in a position to be successful, now it's time to start seeing it. You've heard the old adage, if you can see it, you can do it. If you can do it, you can achieve it. Seeing is believing. You have to see it to truly believe it. So this is the start of the next phase. It's going to help you build your future. Brick by brick, vision by vision. All right. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, and it may seem too simple to truly be effective, but vision is the first step. You have to be willing to see it so clearly that when somebody asks you what you want to achieve, you talk their head off because you're explaining it to the smallest detail. And they're going to be like, hey, I didn't need to know all that. Well, it's part of my vision. So if you ask about it, you're going to get it. So until next week, where we jump into the next step in this phase, as always, stay focused and be ready to unleash it.